Hello everyone and welcome to Killershrewfan's Killer Toy Reviews. What with this being the Thanksgiving season and all, yes, it's Thanksgiving season until the Friday after Thanksgiving and don't you forget it, I wanted to do something new to tie into a holiday whose symbol is literally a dinosaur. The most clever thing I could come up with was Nanmu November, but I think it's actually not a bad idea. Nanmu is a relatively new company that I have quickly become very thankful for, and since the summer I have quickly accumulated several of their figures and not gotten around to doing solo reviews for any of them. So yeah, let's do it. 8 models, 7 reviews leading up to Thanksgiving Day. This is Nanmu November. Now, originally when Nanmu first started off, I had very little interest in the models. They struck me as expensive, not all that accessible, and I had no idea if the company would ever grow beyond producing 1 or 2 models a year. But lo and behold, it looks like Nanmu is here to stay and they have really brought it in 2020. Again, I wasn't too interested, they're still expensive and none too accessible. But as the line grew and more people started singing their praises, I had to pay more attention. Fate would have it that a friend of mine decided he wasn't as taken as everyone else was with the line, and he ended up selling me several of the models at pretty decent prices. One of, if not the first models I got from him from this line was this, the 2019 Beserker Raptor. Now, it should come as no surprise that the Berserker Raptor is actually based on the Indoraptor from Fallen Kingdom. The best part of the film, in my opinion. I loved the sequence when they cut the power and you'd see quick glimpses of the creature running through the darkness while the tapping of the toe claw sounded out in the dark. Oh, and don't even get me started on the bedroom scene. That was great. Shame I didn't like the rest of it, though. Anywho, if you're a fan of Fallen Kingdom or the Indoraptor in general, this model is a must-have. Nanmu have captured the likeness of the Indoraptor quite nicely with this figure. The boxy head, those awesome, snaggly, clear plastic teeth, and those evil eyes all look fantastic on this thing. It does feature an articulated jaw which opens up nice and easy, allowing you to look in at a pink, semi-glossy mouth. I will say there does seem to be a disparity in style between the detail on the head and the rest of the body. The head feels a bit smoothed over and basic in those terms, but as soon as you hit the neck, you get all of these scales of varying shapes and sizes. I love all of this detail so much, and despite the dark paint job, it all pops incredibly well. Beneath the scales you can see some indications of the ribs, lovely pulling, wrinkling skin around the limbs, love that, and the scale details continue all the way down to the tip of the tail, which does have a little bit of bend and curve to it. Going back up the opposite side, same story really, lovely scales, nice musculature, and some lovely folding skin at the torso as the creature turns ever so slightly over its left shoulder. Then we get back up to the somewhat blank head. The back of the model features those awesome armor plate scales that spike out from the curve of the body and look so cool, and the transition between them to the finer ones is pretty well handled. One thing I am missing on the model are the quills that were present on the Indoraptor. I can understand why Nanmu did not add those. They would have been very fine and probably would have been way too delicate to mold, but even if they had sculpted them, lying against the body rather than being raised up, just to show that they were there, I might have preferred that. Without them, he looks weirdly naked. Now, you have got some seam lines on this figure, something that I would say is Nanmu's biggest struggle at this point. They're present on the arms and legs, as you can see. At a distance, they are much harder to read though, but it is something I hope Nanmu gets better at disguising down the road. Anywho, while we're on the subject of the arms and legs, awesome anatomy. I love how the muscles are flexing and the tendons are pulling as the animal crouches down for a pounce. The hands have that wicked, gnarly look with the small thumb and yellow claws. The musculature in the legs is beautifully rendered, and again, the tendons in the ankle and those toe claws, all of that looks fantastic. The underbelly, bit plain in comparison, but there are some good wrinkles and folds of skin down here that have been highlighted by a light dry brush, so it's more than passable. I mean, we really don't ever see this area anyway, so what's to expect, I guess. Let's talk pose. I absolutely love the pose on this Indoraptor. From a movement standpoint and a physicality standpoint in the films, I always loved seeing the Indominus crouch down onto all fours. They took that a step further in Fallen Kingdom by having the Indoraptor be able to move in both a bipedal and quadrupedal fashion. I really love that Nanmu chose to pose this model in the hunched over stance. For one thing, it's much more stable than a bipedal posture, and for another, it really plays into that unique aspect of the Indoraptor's physicality, and I honestly thought it was pretty creepy in the movie when that thing galloped, so to have a model that kinda emulates that is a lot of fun. The motion here is captured very well with the back right leg bracing way back while the left leg and hand are at rest. One thing that I do not like about this pose is the right hand. I don't know why it's curled up like that. It doesn't look like it's taking a step or anything. It looks like it should be holding an ice cream cone like in that promo picture with Chris Pratt. Yeah, I definitely would have preferred that hand to just be down like the left one, or if it had to be up, I wish it was facing downwards like it was about to be placed on the ground. The weird mid-curl fist doesn't work for me. But beyond that, solid pose. And now for the colors. For a largely black colored model, this thing still manages to pop on the shelves. None of the detail is lost to such a monotone main body. And I will also say the gold stripe is handled very well with some variation in color throughout, which really brings it to life. The armored scales are highlighted with the perfect amount of the same color, which gives them a great amount of pop against the back. As with all of Nanmu's products, there are multiple color schemes of the exact same mold. Yeah, Nanmu goes the Rebor route with their sculpts. The other Indoraptor is a white counterpart, which is fitting because an albino sibling of the Indoraptor was originally planned for the film. I imagine they would look pretty great together, little yin and yang aesthetic for your shelves, but due to space and money, I will probably only ever get one of each mold from Nanmu. And more often than not, I will focus on the color scheme that most closely reflects the film version of the animal, because that's really why I'm into the brand to begin with. So overall, from an appearance standpoint, this model is a fabulous rendition of this genetic abomination. As far as the size goes, you're looking at roughly 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters in terms of length, and just under 3 inches off the ground, or roughly 7.5 centimeters at the hip. For size comparison, I'll go ahead and bring in Nanmu's Carnotaurus Ranger, my first Nanmu figure, because of course it was. I took a look at this as part of 2019's 12 days of reviews, so if you're interested in a review of that figure, link is down below. Anywho, here is how those two size up next to each other. This is definitely an encounter I would have loved to see in Fallen Kingdom. Although I'm sure it would have ended with the Carno's demise, so maybe I didn't need to see it after all. Next up for comparison, here it is next to the Nanmu T-Rex Alpha, since I already kinda took a look at that model as part of my first head-to-head video. Anywho, this is another matchup I would have loved to witness, and one that seems a little more even. And finally, for size comparison, this really isn't fair, but here it is next to the superposable Indoraptor by Mattel, really the only other option for fans of the animal aside from the Grab and Grail. I love Mattel and all, but I will always put models over action figures, so I think it's great that Nanmu is out here delivering a film-accurate, statuesque product for my pop culture collection. And finally, for a size comparison, Nanmu likes to throw in little unpainted human figures that are meant to be in scale with the dinosaur line. I always like to have Chris Pratt for a comparison in my Mattel videos, so why not have him stand in for my Nanmu size up as well? Anyway, I think this sizes up very well with the human pieces Nanmu provides you with. I won't be taking a look at those figures, mostly because I can't remember who came with what, but it is cool to see nonetheless. So there you have it, guys and gals. That is Nanmu's Beserker Raptor, aka the Indoraptor. Like I said before, if you are a more high-end collector and are a fan of the films, then this model is simply a must. It's well sculpted and accurate with a well-balanced paint job. What more could you ask for? If you ask me, I think it's safe to say that I dig this dino. As with many Nanmu figures, it is in the higher cost range, but still relatively affordable in comparison to their larger pieces. And you won't have to worry about shelling out $26 million for a mere prototype. With Nanmu on the rise, their products are becoming more and more accessible. I'll be sure to put a link in the description to various sites where you can get your own. As always, I want to know what you guys think of this model. Do you own it yet? Are you planning on picking it up? What are your thoughts on the Indoraptor and Fallen Kingdom in general? Drop a comment down below. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in to the first episode of Nanmu November. Be sure to check back tomorrow when I take a look at the breakout Ceratopsian of the Jurassic World franchise. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.